from Patter Cake, the channel that's about baking and much more. A warm welcome to my channel.
Today, let's make Goan Neuris or Neureo, yet another popular and tasty Goan Christmas sweet that's an essential addition to every Goan sweets platter. These light and crisp crescent-shaped delights have a flavourful coconut stuffing and are made in a variety of ways. Today, I'll show you a few design variations, but the Neuri or Karanjis will be deliciously crisp and have a smooth outer covering without any bubbles. But now why wait? Let's dive straight into making some tasty Goan Neureo or coconut turnovers right here at Patter Cake. We'll start by preparing the stuffing. Let's take a look at the main ingredients. We'll need 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons, that's 115 grams of grated fresh coconut. It should be mostly the white part. 6 tablespoons or 65 grams of fine rava or semolina. Half a cup plus 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar, that's 120 grams, which I measured and then powdered. 2 tablespoons of chopped almonds, 2 tablespoons of raisins that have been chopped. I'm using a mix of golden and black raisins, 1 tablespoon of khaskhas or poppy seeds, 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground cardamom, 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and a small amount of pure ghee. With the heat on medium-low, let's dry roast the khaskhas for a couple of minutes and then remove it to a bowl, followed by the sesame seeds, which we'll dry roast for 2 to 3 minutes till they just start changing color, and remove these two to the same bowl. In the same pan, now let's heat 1 tablespoon of pure ghee and lightly roast the chopped raisins and almonds for 2 to 3 minutes. And like before, transfer these two to the earlier bowl. To the leftover ghee in the pan, I'll add the rava and roast this for around 5 minutes till it gives off the aroma of roasted rava and becomes golden brown in color. Let's add this to the other roasted ingredients. I'll now add 1 teaspoon of ghee to the pan and roast the grated coconut in this till it becomes drier and changes color slightly. Let's add all the other ingredients from the bowl to the coconut. Let's mix everything, roast the mixture for a minute, and then turn off the heat and let it cool to room temperature. Next, we'll start preparing the dough for the outer covering. Let's sift 1.5 cups, that's 190 grams of maida or all-purpose flour, and to it add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 3 tablespoons of fine rava. Let's mix everything. Here I have 1.5 tablespoons of pure ghee. I'll melt and heat it till it's sizzling hot and be back. Let's add the hot ghee to the flour. I'll mix it in with a spoon first. And let's wipe this vati clean with some flour to get all the ghee out of it. I'll now rub the ghee well into the flour by hand. Now let's make a medium stiff dough with water. Don't make it as stiff as puri dough. The dough now seems okay. So I'll cover it and let it rest for around 20 minutes. Now that the coconut mixture has cooled completely, let's stir in the powdered sugar along with the salt and the ground cardamom. Our flavourful stuffing is now ready. The dough has been well rested, but let's knead it lightly to check if its consistency needs to be adjusted. It's just right. Let's divide it into 4 parts. I'll start working with one part and keep the other 3 covered. Let's shape this dough ball into a log and cut it into 6 1-inch long segments. We have to now roll each segment into a thin, somewhat oval-shaped puri. If you find it difficult to roll out the dough, then dust the board lightly with maida. But see that you don't use too much of it. This is thin enough. So I'll place around 1 heaped tablespoon of stuffing on the lower half of the puri and then bring it all together like this. I have a little water here and will dip my fingertip in it to moisten the edge of the lower half of the dough disc. I'll carefully fold the upper half over the stuffing and then press it down firmly to form a half-moon shaped Neuri. Let's trim the extra dough from all around the curved edge using a pastry cutter. You could also use a pizza cutter or knife. The Neuri trimmings can be combined into a dough ball and reused to make more Neureo. See that you leave a half-inch wide border all around. Having a wide enough flat border is essential to prevent the Neureo from opening up while frying them. Let's now make a simple design along the border with the pastry cutter. You could arrange the Neureo on a flour-dusted thali or tray. You could also use a mold to make Neureo. This one I have is 4 inches wide. When you use a mold, you have to roll out circular puris with a larger diameter than that of the mold. I'll first dust the inside lightly with flour. Remember to roll the dough out thinly and also pay attention to the size. Let's place the dough disc on the mold and press it down a little. Now the stuffing can be placed on the lower half or in the center. If you place it in the center, you have to fold the mold like this. And if you place it on the lower half, here's how you have to close it. I am going to place the stuffing on the lower half of the mold. I'll wet the edge of the lower half of the dough disc, carefully close the mold, and then press down hard along the curved edge. I'll tear off the extra dough from all around and then open the mold. Here's our shaped Neuri. We'll keep the shaped Neureo covered under a wet napkin or muslin cloth till we finish shaping all of them. If you quite like the pleated border design, I'll show you how you could make something similar by hand. Trim the edge of the Neuri using a knife and then make a pleated border like this. Place your middle finger underneath the border and using your thumb and forefinger, pinch a pleat. Repeat this at intervals and then lightly press the pleats down in one direction. And there you have it, a pleated border. Let me show you another simple design you could make with a fork. Press down the tines or prongs of the fork along the border, leaving small blank spaces in between. Then turn the fork around and using the handle, push the dough inwards where there are gaps or spaces. And you'll get a pretty scalloped design like this. Let's do this again. I'll now show you how to give a different texture to the outer coating of your Neureo. Let's roll this dough ball into a large disc and then spread a thin layer of ghee on it like this. Next, we'll sprinkle some corn flour all over the surface. And then roll the disc up tightly without any air gap between the turns of dough. Let's cut the rolled up log of dough at intervals of around an inch. I'll keep these dough pieces covered and roll the first one out. With the cut edges on either side, we'll place it down like this on the flour dusted board and then roll out an oblong puri. We are not making layered Neureo, but because of the ghee and corn flour, the outer coating will be somewhat flakier. For these Neureo, the puris you roll out will have to be slightly thicker than the ones for regular Neureo. The shaping and trimming of the edges will remain the same. Let's give the border a simple fork design. Okay, I'll now make the rest of the Neureo and then we'll deep fry them. Controlling the temperature of the oil is very important when it comes to frying Neureo. The oil shouldn't be too hot. So heat the oil with the flame on medium or medium-low. After dropping a tiny ball of dough into it to check its temperature, don't wait till it rises to the top. The moment it starts moving around rapidly at the bottom and releases bubbles, it's time to put the Neureo into the oil and fry them slowly on medium-low or low heat. Add as many Neureo as you can to the kadai. This will keep the oil from becoming too hot. If you fry too few Neureo at a time, the oil temperature will rise and the Neureo will develop bubbles on the outer covering and fry too fast. But if you fry them slowly, allowing around 3 to 4 minutes for each batch, they'll have a smooth outer covering. Flip the Neureo off and on to help them fry evenly. These are done. I'll reduce the heat to low and remove the Neureo to this colander that I've placed over a bowl. Let's add the next batch of Neureo to the oil and then increase the heat again slightly to medium-low. If you find the Neureo are browning too fast, you could even turn off the heat for 30 to 60 seconds and then turn it on again. Here are all the Neureo we just made. If you fry the Neureo with proper temperature control, they'll be light and crisp. They may look like they've been made with puff pastry and have a dappled look, but they won't develop any bubbles on the surface of the covering. We'll now let these cool completely. The Neureo have now cooled. I was able to make 27 Neureo in all. Let me break one to show you how crisp the outer covering is. The Neuri is crisp and light, not crisp and hard. Now I'll break one of the Neureo we made with the tightly coiled up dough covering. This Neuri's covering is light and definitely flakier. There's a subtle difference between the two coverings, but this won't be quite clear to you unless you actually taste both. And what's more, both are super delicious. You'll want to enjoy more than one. When they cool down completely, store the Neureo in an airtight container. They'll stay good at room temperature for 2 to 3 weeks. After that, you could store them in the fridge. I hope you liked today's video and will definitely give my recipe a shot. Love and best wishes to all of you. And to my Christian friends, here's wishing you the sweet blessings of Christmas. Until we meet again, happy cooking!